I do think we have to do a little bit of housekeeping at the beginning because Chris was under arrest. Chris spent a little bit of time in jail, nothing compared to Tamara. But he's released on an undertaking, and we have to talk about that now because there can be no suggestion in this room that we break that undertaking while he's on the stage. So can you describe the things we are not allowed to do or talk about?
So basically, if I was to drive east right now, nobody could follow me. I'm not allowed to have a convoy again, per se, or I'm not allowed to take part in a protest. So Tamara and I are both charged with, myself, I was handed the 7th indictable offense here about a month and a half ago when we were out in Ontario doing...
They charged you again a month and a half ago?
A month and a half ago, yes. So
with what?
Going against a court order. So right now we're facing mischief, which is usually a summary offense. Now we're charged as an indictable offense, which means jail time, of course. There's mischief, there's counseling to commit mischief, there is intimidation of a peace officer. I worked with police officers for 3 weeks straight. Daily, on the street, face to face. There was never any intimidation, so I'm not sure where they're getting that from. Going against a court order, I believe there's 2 charges on going against a court order as well as counseling to commit. So trial's scheduled for September 5th of this year in Ottawa. They just released the dates here a little while ago. It'll be a 4-week trial for three days per week for 4 weeks, ranging from the beginning of September to the middle of October with a 2-week break in there.
Mischief is what they charge graffiti artists with, I believe, right? Yeah. So we shouldn't talk too much about that because we don't want to be seen to be disparaging the court 100%. Or to be abusing the process. So let's talk about activism, why we're here tonight. What was the moment for you that you changed from being a business owner, a truck driver, a truck company operator, to being an activist? Think about that moment. Tell us.
That would have been a conversation I had with Miss Bridget Belton on social media. January 15th, as everybody knows, the cross-border mandates became a law for unvaccinated truck drivers to cross the international border. That affected my life. I felt the pressure of that going forward, and I gave to the pressure, and I got vaccinated. I'm fully vaccinated with the card. But a lot of the people that I work with in this industry didn't want to go that far. We lost a tremendous amount of good quality drivers in this industry, a lot of which retired. A majority of them then stuck to just Canada. So for the last year, the mandates have been still in place. They were still in place under the Biden administration. It made it difficult. We were short drivers, and it's really hurt the last while. The mandates have since been lifted. We're back to normal per se. But those drivers that retired or shut down aren't coming back. We've lost that quality of driver now in the industry. That was when I decided to put a voice to it, I guess. I've always been that guy that's yelled at the steering wheel, yelled at the windshield, didn't like the direction of my country under this administration or even the previous ones. You've been watching it slowly descent where I didn't feel comfortable with it. And I'm a staunch conservative. I've always voted conservative, but this country isn't what it was, when at a time I remember earlier.
Well, this country owes you a great debt of gratitude. There's no doubt about it. And the few people that started it, you did.
I appreciate it.
When did you start to feel that this was bigger than you?
The views. I know on my social media they went, I had a following probably 20, 30,000 people earlier on before this happened, to then growing 20,000 a day. It was upwards of, I think I'm at just under 200,000 followers now on TikTok. Changes your perspective a little bit. The moment that it hit me probably was leaving Medicine Hat. On the morning of the 24th, we drove from my hometown of Swift Current to Red Cliff, Alberta, where Miss Litch lives. We picked her up in that, and we met the West Convoy, the Vancouver Convoy. And leaving Medicine Hat that day, the people standing on the side of the road, the police in Medicine Hat had traffic control at every intersection, so people were safe crossing that. And
So the police were cooperating.
they were, yeah. We had complete police cooperation the entire distance. OPP, Ontario Provincial Police, met us at the Ontario border and escorted us all the way across Ontario. I was in constant communication, like I said.
It's interesting because I was taking the film that I was doing for Ben, and I was realizing that I was getting such great comments from the truckers, especially after the comments from Trudeau and saying that this was white supremacists and racists. And I started knocking on truck doors, and I couldn't find a white guy. It took knocking. And, you know, the Jamaican accents, you know, do me look like a white supremacist, you know. And so I was taking these on my phone in addition, and I brought them down to the convoy headquarters. And there was Danny Bulford, who had been Trudeau's personal security 4 weeks before, and he was on the phone with Ottawa Police talking like they were buddies. Look, we're trying to move some trucks out of the way. We're trying to get them to stop honking. We're going to get some porta potties. There was an organizational cooperation between your convoy and the police from the very beginning. I witnessed it. How did that happen?
Everything was organic. Everything was grassroots. Everything was organic. Police were reaching out to us to say, you know, safety was the utmost concern. And we had daily morning safety meetings with the trucks in the parking lots. We expressed that the entire way out. There was communication, there was rules, there was a code of ethics that you had to follow. We didn't want troublemakers, we didn't want violence, and we stated that right from day one. And so working with the police was a vital thing that needed to be done right from the start. And OPS, Ottawa City Police, constant communication with them. We had daily briefings with them on the people that we didn't have daily briefings with, or even a conversation was, our sitting Prime Minister, who we wanted an ear to at least listen to some concerns. We got name calling. We got the media was used as the propaganda wing against us and vilified us, demonized us, whatever they could do to try and turn that narrative.
When did you feel that you had something so big in Ottawa? I mean, it started with a couple of people running the thing. Did it get out of your control at any point, or get out of Tamara's control?
It didn't. It did. I always said anybody that showed up in Ottawa had a purpose or had a job. Anybody that came in the door and said, "How can I help?" It may have been something of collecting paper for the printers, or going and get power cords for phones or batteries. Anybody that showed up, and you speak about Danny Bulford, that's probably one of the most salt of the earth kind of guys that I probably met during this whole movement.
He's presenting tomorrow, by the way.
Yeah,
so.
I was nervous there. I've got conditions against Danny Bulford. I'm not allowed to be in his presence. So when
He won't be in. He'll be virtual.
I messaged the lawyers and said Danny's going to be here, and then I seen in visual there. So.
I would maybe you'd step out of the room while he's doing his presentation. Could be a good idea.
Well, I probably have to. Yeah. So it's been really tricky the last 17 months, making sure, Tamara and I have been at a couple events here in the last little while where we have to make sure we have lawyers. So Keith Wilson, Eva Chipiak are our main civil lawyers. They follow us around. We commonly refer to them as the world's most expensive babysitters. That's quite comical. We've made so many good friends in 17 months. It's amazing.
But there's a massive disruption in your personal life. You're criminally charged for the first time in your life. You're not a criminal. You've never acted like a criminal. You're a responsible parent, businessman, member of your community. Do you have regrets?
I don't. No. I was at an event in Salmon Arm last night, and a lady got up and read a letter. And I've seen this letter many times before. It's a sentiment that we've seen across the country. And it was a story of suicide. She was going to take her own life. And then those trucks fired up. And she got hope again. And she read that letter last night. It gets you. It gets you right there. So no, it was, we saved a bunch of lives, and we brought hope to a bunch of people. So as far as I'm concerned.
How are you handling being a hero?
I don't handle it well. I'm just a farm boy from Saskatchewan that that had enough, I guess. And I still consider myself that. I'm not a public speaker. I don't think I do well up here. People say that I'm fairly decent on a microphone, but I'm Chris Scott, same thing, nervous as hell.
Chris Scott, are you nervous? You channel it well. What do you have to say to people who have come here to learn about activism from somebody who was never really an activist? Became the greatest one we have.
I'd probably be the prime example of somebody that, like you said, how many people out there are mad, listen to the news every day, and you're angry, and you're yelling at the steering wheel, or you're yelling at your coffee cup, and then a time in your life comes around where you actually make a difference. I turned something that, like I said in the video there, that I don't think anybody grew more than what I did in the last 17 months, probably mentally, spiritually. Yeah.
Well, there's no doubt that you changed Canada's direction, that you and Tamara and the small group that started that had such an impact because the mandates started to drop afterwards, despite that they wouldn't give you credit. They couldn't give you credit because they fear anarchy. But there's no doubt that that small thing, that decision you made in that moment changed the direction that we were going from darkness to light. I thank you personally for it.
I appreciate that. Thank you. The reason when you said this in the opening there, that you didn't get the chance to interview me, I blew Ben off for the movie Unacceptable.
I tried. I couldn't. Yeah.
He tried to reach me in Ottawa. He tried to reach me after Ottawa. I went home in the truck, and the lawyers kind of told me to be quiet, and so I did that. So when I was reached out for interviews for this documentary, but watching the movie Unacceptable, I think the good part about it is you get to meet other faces of the movement, like Bern Buchert, Tamara's in there, a lot of the key players like Jabba, the Romanian trucker. You listen to his story, it's amazing.
That film is a phenomenal thing if you haven't seen it. It is one of the most emotional things you'll ever watch as a Canadian, and I think it goes beyond Canada because I think the world looked to Canada. Yep. And I think this goes back, generations. In the First World War, when the Canadians went to fight, they put them in their communities, so they fought like a town together. And the Canadians were the ones that were credited for winning the big battles of the First World War. We showed them. And I think what you did showed the world. Enough is enough. It can be peaceful. It won't be quiet, but it was peaceful. And it was just us saying, here we are. We're all here for the same reasons. And I think that there was a point made, and I think it was Chris Scott who made this, and it really resonated with me, is that we don't all have to agree on everything, but we agree on this. So on this, we are united. And this, we are Canada. And I think that's what that whole convoy meant to us all. Enough is enough. Thank you again for it.
Appreciate it.
I'd like to move into our panel discussion now.
Thank you.